Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 15th of September, 2025. Coming to the Crusty podcast, episode 383, Patriotism Galore. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Patriots are getting pissed. They're out there waving the flags in Britain, Australia, Canada, United States. Oh my God, here it comes. Wait for it, though. Of course, there's typical buzzwords and everything in the way. However, this show will probably change your mind. All that and more coming up. Listener viewer discretion will be advised because I will swear, smoke cigarettes, and just tell it how it is. All right. See you in a bit.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues, and life. Here's Crusty.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 383 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I am your host, Crusty Canuck. Hope all is well. Hope you're having a wonderful day or wonderful weekend, that you've had a wonderful weekend. If you like and hear what you see, click like and subscribe. And also, just as a reminder to you wonderful people out there too, this podcast is brought to you in part by and supported by Veterans for Freedom Network. That's right, Veterans for Freedom Stand 2, and coming soon, I keep saying that, Veterans for Freedom TV, all that and more. And if you like and you see, click like, subscribe, share this content over social media platforms. Do not be shy, ladies and gentlemen. Just get the word out there. Let us Canucks reign supreme when it comes to online activity. Let us creators reach out to you and you decide, the viewer, the consumer, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so I'm not going to sugarcoat this episode. I'm not going to bullshit you all there too. You all know better. You're all able-bodied adults, okay? And you're all capable enough to put together your own independent thoughts. Now, my last episode, I got a few comments from people in regards to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Some people were upset. I get it. You know, I was upset because the man was good to go as far as I'm concerned, regardless of how I personally felt about his own religious ideas. But he made you think, and he opened up dialogue. He opened the floodgates of dialogue, and he persevered. Okay. So regardless of what you personally think about his religious background, the man had something to say and he was killed for it. Let's just leave it at that. Okay. And there's a big, big stink about all these so-called lefties being fired from their job. Oh my God, I got fired today. What's wrong with the world? Oh my. If you don't remember a few years ago, there were certain individuals that were being harassed and doxxed because of their opinions, being fired, being let go, being swatted. If you don't know what swatting means, is mean you get a random call where the police services get a random call from somebody saying, somebody's got big pew-pews over there. You might want to check it out. Maybe send your SRT teams or your ERT teams or your SWAT teams to go check them out. Okay. Tim Pool, a reporter of the States who has a great podcast, has a great show, by the way. He was SWAT a couple times. Excuse me. And I think there was a few others. Just off the top of my head, I don't really rightfully know. But you, my wonderful audience, I encourage you to look it up too. And I want you to decide for yourselves. Now the pendulum is kind of swinging. Okay. The pendulum is swinging to the other direction. All right. Yours truly, and I've said this before on the show, ladies and gentlemen, I have been doxxed a few times. Well, not doxxed. I've had people harass me, but I've also been let go from a couple of jobs because of words. Certain words that, offended some individuals. Okay. Now, there was one job I had. It had to do with the military. It was working on the base, in the base gym. And I was going to go for the equipment manager, which would be an 8 to 4 job, good pay, good benefits, all that good stuff, plus the pension. Now, there was one individual that worked for a group of people that didn't like what I had to say about teaching certain sexual preferences to children. And I basically said to her, leave kids alone. I didn't say anything anti-gay or anti-this or anti-that. I just said, leave kids alone. She was offended. And I got called into a kangaroo court with 7 individuals that had all these qualifications for the Wahoo because they spent some time in some institution to write essays and dissertations about personal feelings of a goddamn fruit fly, being judged like I was some kind of derelict. Okay. I already spent 10 years in that base, as not as just as a grunt or as a player, but as an instructor in today's modern military. Right. So I sat there and I'm looking at all these people and I'm saying, basically, I don't have a chance here, do I? Because you're not going to let me get my words in edgewise because they might be too offensive. Right. So I passed the word along to certain individuals about that. And there's nothing really can be done about it because the whole woke mantra has been saturated in every aspect of our lives. Right. Now, second job was during the COVID, during the jibby jab time, and I complained about the mask. I show up to work on time. I covered off from shifts and people. I did due diligence. I cleaned windows. I cleaned counters. I asked pertinent questions. And there were a couple of times where I was working for a couple of shitheads that would stand around and watch me work. So I did the same thing to them. Now, I covered off on shifts. I helped out in holidays. I never asked for time off. I show up to work and did what I was told. And I got let go because someone didn't like me complaining about the mask issue. And it sucked because I needed that job. But then again, I never really dwelled in it as much as I should have. But that's the point. I learned to move on, got a better job, work with better people, and I haul ass like everybody else. Okay. Now, when I see this topsy-turvy, this pendulum swinging, I guess payback's a bitch for some of you, isn't it? Okay. I guess payback's a real bitch that the bubble you live in has just been fucking bursted. Right. And reality's starting to seep in there. Okay. Now, I am an advocate for free speech, honestly. Whether you say this or whether you say that, or this person says this or stands by this or does this, whatever, I am an advocate for free speech. But when you go online, and it doesn't matter what position you are in, doesn't matter if you're a teacher, doesn't matter if you stock grocery shelves, doesn't matter if you make baskets or pottery, doesn't matter if you're a lawyer or you represent the innocent or the marginalized, you got to own your shit. And when you advocate and applaud, okay, when you applaud the murder of somebody, I said it, and I'm not going to censor myself here too. Fuck the censors. You advocate for the murder and praise the murder of someone you don't disagree with, or you just don't like his words. You're no goddamn better than the monsters you make them out to be. You're not. You sit there and talk about fascism. Oh, we killed a fascist. No, you didn't. You're the fascist. If you feel compelled to shoot somebody because you don't like what they're saying, that doesn't make you a patriot. That doesn't make you a revolutionary. You're not standing for workers. You're standing for your own selfish pride. You're standing for your own ideology, whatever the hell that may be. Whether it's wokeism, whether it's socialism, whether it's communism, or just being a plain right nasty prick. You're not standing up for a good fight. You're just being a douchebag or a douchette, right? You're not doing anything for the common good, right? Because apparently the asshole that they caught had a trans female boyfriend. There, I said it. A trans female is a male. So whoever this kid is and his boyfriend or lover is, more information is about to surface. Time will tell, won't it?
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And you're back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 383 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Patriotism galore. That's right. We've got flag waving in Britain, flag waving in Australia, flag waving here in Canada. Not at the same scale as it was in Britain. Roughly, they figure 3 million people are out in the streets waving the Union Jack, St. George's Cross, the Scottish Cross, the Irish flag. The United Kingdom, I would say, is once united again. Wow. Well done to my British friends out there standing up and fighting the good fight. Okay. Now, this is what gets me about nationalism because we've been taught the past 10, 15 years. I know young kids have, okay, that nationalism is bad. Don't love your country. Don't love your origin, especially when it comes to the Caucasian persuasions. You know what I mean? Oh, crazy white people. Oh, we're just so crazy, aren't we? No, we're not. Because I can tell you, my wonderful audience out there, and everyone who has watched my show and listened to my podcast, okay, I was not raised in a bigoted household. As imperfect as my parents were, they instilled proper engagement with people. They told me never to judge anybody by the color of their skin or their gender or their sexuality for that matter. And you can thank a lot of the mentality of the Gen X generation that has basically brought that to surface, who has maintained that. Okay. But there might be a few more boomers and a few more Gen Xers out there in the mix that have instilled into millennials and some Gen Zs about the whole victimhood mentality and the oppressive mentality. Oh, this country is so terrible. Oh my God, what do we do? You can leave. No one's forcing you to stay here in Canada. No one's forcing you to stay in the United States. No one's forcing you to stay in Britain or France or Germany or any other working democracy on the globe. No one is forcing you as an individual to stay, especially if you're catching benefits for education, accommodation, food, certain benefits when it comes to medicine, dental, you name it. No one's forcing you to stay. So those flags behind me there, you've got the maple leaf, the red and white. I fought under that flag. Okay. I was in a war under that flag. All right. And I've had to deal with people during that time when I came back from that tour, people on the street, a few comments, even some acquaintances that I knew, people that I actually went to school with, saying stupid things to me like, why'd you have to go? Why are you doing that sort of thing? Oh, I thought we were peacekeepers. Well, we don't do that. Canadians don't do that. We do. We've done it before. At that time, we had to do it again. And no one forced me. No one put a gun to my head and said, oh, Crusty, we need you to go over here and you better do it and like it. No, this country hasn't seen conscription, or to my American friends, a draft, since the Second World War. Every conflict that Canada has taken part in since the end of World War II has been done by men and women who volunteered, who signed the dotted line, whether it be a 3-year term or a 5-year term, or in some cases 20, 25, in some cases 30 years. Okay. There are a lot of Canucks that went down to the States during the Vietnam War and signed up with the Marines, United States Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard. All right. They figure about 30,000 Canadians crossed the border and joined the American services during that time. And when you want to talk about a time of conflict, the 1960s had its conflicts all over the world, not just the United States or Canada, all over the world. Big transition, big social revolution when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to appearances, music. Some of the greatest fucking music that ever came out on the globe came from the 1960s. Right? And Britain had every right to be proud at that time. British invasion had all these great bands. The United States actually had every right to be proud too, because Americans were learning things about themselves. So were Canadians, right? Not just hockey and maple syrup. We were coming into our own way too. We were being a little more open. We weren't being so monarchical, I guess, is that the term? We weren't always relying on the monarchy. We were looking at each other. We had our traditions. We blessed them. But see, up before 1982, Canada had something called a Bill of Rights. And that changed drastically come May of 82 when we signed a constitution, right? Because our government had to throw in a notwithstanding clause there when it came to patriotism, when it came to pride, when it came to freedom of speech. Oh, we have freedom of expression in our constitution, right? But that can be changed in a heartbeat if the government deems fit. Why? Okay. And based on the crime rates that have been going on in this country since the better part of 2016, it's getting harder and harder and harder for Canadians to defend themselves against home intruders or people trying to steal their property, i.e. like their cars or tools, or raiding their garages for stuff. Okay. I just saw in the news today too. 12-year-old boy has been arrested for murder. Murder. There, I said it, YouTube censors. Murder. A 12-year-old boy having access to a firearm, killing another person. What's that tell you about the plight? Okay. So when people go out there and they march in Canada. Now, I don't have any videos rigged up for you, ladies and gentlemen. I just didn't want to put it together because I really wanted just to speak my mind here and keep the intellect and keep the conversation going here. Because we really need this. We really, really need this. Look at our British friends. Look at that beautiful rally. Right? Beautiful songs, bagpipes, British culture. A lot of friends in Australia and New Zealand too. New Zealanders doing the haka, the ancient Maori war dance. The haka. Wow. Right? Aussies waving their flags, loving their country. And there's not a goddamn thing wrong with loving your nation. Because to my fellow Canucks out there, how many times have we watched a World Cup game or any kind of world game? And you've got your Italian Canadians, you got your Greek Canadians, Portuguese Canadians, you've got Japanese Canadians, Chinese Canadians, and that's great. All celebrating the home team. That's excellent. 2010, when Canada got the gold in the Winter Games in Vancouver, where they beat the United States 3-2. The look on Sidney Crosby's face, wow, was I ever proud to be a Canadian then. Still am. That's just me, though. There's more of that flag behind me than just the red and white. And there's more of that Union Jack behind its colors and its crosses. And there's more of that red ensign there. It's part of my home, part of my heritage. To my fellow Canadians out there, it's part of your home and heritage too. Because without that Union Jack, would there be a maple leaf? Canada could have been New France for a very, very long time. It could have been maybe a Spanish colony. Who knows? Historically, who knows? But see, that's the thing with history. It happened. So what all those little clingy kids that talk about, history and Canada was so terrible this time and Canada was so terrible that time. You're right. There has been terrible history. There have been terrible history towards the indigenous peoples in North America as well as South America. Now, think about all the indigenous peoples of certain countries that were chastised by the Romans or the Greeks and the Mesopotamians or all the Genghis Khans out there. What did Alexander the Great do? How many people were misplaced because of his conquests? How many people were misplaced when Genghis Khan conquested Asia as we see it? How many people? Over and over again, and still we have to dwell into this bullshit. There is nothing wrong with loving your country. Nothing. So wave your flags, ladies and gentlemen. Wave them proud. Okay? The past couple of years, we have seen nothing but the Palestinian flags. Oh, free this, free that. Oh, my God, the oppression. Okay, you're protesting in the streets all the time. Ask yourself this. Are you willing to die for this nation? Or you want to die for that nation? Choices, right? Now, my libertarian side's coming out because I don't believe in going to war at the drop of a hat. I believe in defending your nation, defending your home, defending your family and friends to the best of your goddamn ability. But if you're going to live here in this country and reap the benefits, why can't you fight for the good guys? Why can't you? And if it's a matter of the economy or money or issues like that, then go get a better job. Better yourself. There's still options and opportunities out there for all. It's just getting tighter because the more and more you try, the more and more expensive it gets. And you can thank the government for that shit, right? It's not the white person. It's not the black person. It's not the indigenous person. It's the individual and the bureaucracy that's holding it back. Something to think about, isn't it?
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And you're back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 383 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Patriotism Galore. And just a reminder, too, if you like and hear what you see, click like, subscribe, share this content all over your social media platforms. Do not be shy, ladies and gentlemen. And if you feel like donating, look at the links in the description. Please donate if you can. I'm not expecting a small fortune, but the more and more viewers, and let's say I get, I really appreciate maybe $1 or $2 an episode. It's just to help me get ahead. Like I said, I've had some tax issues this past year. CRA likes to take its fair share of something they never fucking earned, right? That's just the way it is. But still, if you can help and find the kindness in your heart to give me a couple of bucks every month or every time you see an episode, that would be really, really great. If not, that's fine too. Just sit and watch, comment, like, and all that good stuff too. Anyway, carrying on with the whole patriotism galore. There's nothing wrong with being a Canadian. Nothing wrong with being American. Nothing wrong with being British. Doesn't matter if you're Irish, if you're Scottish, if you're Welsh. Doesn't matter if you're German. Doesn't matter if you're French. Okay? And any working democracy. Doesn't matter. Stand by your homeland. That's fine. Like I said, growing up, we always hear about Italian Canadians or Portuguese Canadians or Greek Canadians. Hey, that's great. Gone to Canada for a better life. That's fine. you know? But then when you look at the streets now with all these protesters talking about equality or inequality, what kind of equality do you want? You had the opportunity like I do. You had the opportunity to go to school like I did. You had the opportunity to get a better job like I did. You had the opportunity to serve your country like I did. You had the opportunity laid at your fucking feet. And still, I want more. For what? Huh? You want special treatment because you may identify? You want special accolades because you have a certain feeling? Oh, I feel. Who gives a fuck how you feel? What can you do? What special things can you do to make this country better? Can you unite people like we should be? Yeah, we should be united. We should be. Okay. But we've got mainstream media that is constantly harping about what this guy said at this time or what she did at that time or the skirt she wore or the pants he wore. Start paying attention to what they're doing. Parliament opened today. Finally, they're back to work. Finally, some normalcy in Canadian democracy. But just the banter back and forth. You said this and you did that. And really, to my elbows up fans out there, how are those elbows feeling now, eh? Are they feeling any better? You know? Still more debt, still more false promises. Now there's 5 national projects going on right now. LNG is going to open up. Oh, great. Do we have any fucking pipes to get it there? Right? Where are these investors that are going to invest in Canada to help us along the way? The problem is there's still so many Canadians out there that believe big government will save us and more taxes will help us. No, they won't. Because we've learned that lesson since World War II that higher taxes will not create prosperity. It won't. Give me an example, anybody out there, and I challenge anybody out there too. Give me an example of how higher taxes have helped millions in one big lump sum. Go on. I'll wait. Yeah. So any of these cronies that sit there in Parliament, and whether it be provincial legislature or the provincial parliaments, blow it at your ass. It's not. It's not going to happen anytime soon. It's not going to happen tomorrow or next week. Okay. And there's also talk of new hate laws coming through our parliament too, in regards to nationalities. Okay. How many more hate laws do we need to put on the table? How many more? Is it going to be illegal to say you hate taxes? Is it going to be illegal to say you hate the weather? It's too goddamn hot outside. Or come, January in this area, it's too goddamn cold outside. Oh my God. Someone's going to knock your door and hand you a ticket for $800 for saying the wrong words. If the Charlie Kirk assassination taught us something, it did teach us that there are people out there who hate words, who don't like your opinions, and political violence is never an answer unless there is an actual war or there's a reason to revolt against the governing body. Okay. And some of my Canadian friends out there who don't understand the American Second Amendment, it's meant to carry guns in case the government becomes tyrannical, not just for the sake of having a gun and going bang, bang, get myself a bunny or a deer or two. It's about defending your home and your family. And I think Canada is way overdue when it comes to doing that too. And our criminal code, you can say, or you can defend yourself with reasonable force. Yes. If he's got a big powwow stick, you have a big powwow stick. If he's got a sharpie thing, you can have a sharpie thing. Poke. But as I mentioned before in other episodes, you don't have time to be reasonable or realistic when someone's breaking into your house and threatening your loved ones. You grab whatever's available to stop the threat. Treat it like a fire, Sometimes you have electrical fire. The first reaction is to throw water on it. Okay, you don't do that. You throw a chemical on, like a powder, to stifle the current and to stifle the flame. Water, you just send electricity everywhere. You might put the flame out, but you'll damage some property heavily, and you might hurt yourself better. So you don't have time to be reasonable if that happens. Just like you don't have time to be reasonable if someone's breaking into your house and it's either you or him or you or her or whoever it may be, whoever identifies. But needless to say, you're not going to have that time to think of it clearly. And the way that the federal government and its supporters are treating gun owners now, it's a slippery slope. Yet they're still finding criminals who've acquired black market arms, who acquire all these wonderful things in Toronto, Montreal, Winnipeg, Edmonton, every major city in the country, who acquires these terrible things. And yet people like me, fellow shooters, other hunters, other collectors, are penalized. So if the whole Charlie Kirk thing is waking people up, come on, Canada, wake up even more. If it happens down there, it can very well happen up here. Look at the big stink that a lot of politicians made because someone said some dirty words in certain offices. I can think of Miss Catherine McKenna. Remember her, right? Remember that crazy woman, right? Remember her? You know?
Where's the money, Catherine?
You know, the so-called billion-dollar infrastructure bank, and all these billions went missing. And then she was so upset because someone said CUNT on her office. Well, that's because she was lying and she was being rude to people. Now it's bad taste. Sure, you shouldn't damage anyone's property to protest something. But then again, look at the riots that have gone on in Canada the past couple of years in the name of Palestine, in the name of identity, in the name of Gaza. The fires that were set, the shots that were taken at synagogues, bricks that were thrown at people, statues being vandalized. How many churches in this country burnt too? Right? Because of the so-called mass graves in BC. So which is it? So we have to shun Canada for its history, yet we can praise Canada when a check comes in the mail, right? Ain't that a bitch? Ain't that just a weird thing? So there's nothing wrong with loving your nation, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with loving Canada, loving Britain, loving Ireland. Nothing wrong with loving the United States. Nothing wrong with loving Mexico. Nothing wrong with loving where you're from. Okay? But look at the countries that have given so many opportunities to so many. Like I said, Italian Canadians, Greek Canadians, Portuguese Canadians, Chinese Canadians, Japanese Canadians. Regardless of the fucking history, look how many people have thrived and prospered in this country because of the laws, because of how they were treated. Right? Think of that. Now, when you look back, can any of those people prosper in their homelands as well as they have done here, or in the United States, or in Britain? Right? Not likely. Something to think about. Something to ponder. That flag there, the maple leaf. I fought under that flag. I raised a rifle and I fired it at the enemy for that flag, for that country, for you, my fellow Canadians. And I'm not going to sit here and toot my own horn and sound like some kind of warrior extraordinaire. Just a Canuck. Just someone who loves his country. Someone who put his ass on the line for it. Someone who's buried a few people who did. Someone who's had to say goodbye to a few good people too because of it. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget those days. I'll never forget the fear and the anxiety and the horror of some of those situations. But better me than you, right? Something to think about. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 15th of September, 2025. As always, I wish good things for you out there. Still be kind, be considerate, do what you can, help you in these trying times. Don't listen to the banter. Listen to your own heart. Listen to your own soul. Listen to a loved one. Look after your loved ones. Look after the people that matter. Look after things that matter in your lives. We shall persevere this onslaught of ideas. We shall overcome this manufactured darkness. And we shall bring light to disinfect the chaos. And like I always say, ladies and gentlemen, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you next time, everybody. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Oh, yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
This This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.